Hey, everybody. Welcome to a very unusual 1 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon broadcast of the Rantings of Danny. If you'll bear with me for just a second, one of the things that I need to do is share this, and then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information. I'm going to bring you up to speed on my conversations with Sean, what has taken place, and what this is going to be like. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work the way that I needed to. What I learned yesterday is that if you are watching from my personal page, your comments aren't coming up in the screen, and so I had to pull it up on my phone. So I've done that again just so that I can see and be able to see comments. But do me a favor, if you're watching on my personal page, do me a favor and comment so that I can see if it is in fact working. Like I said, I have it pulled up on my phone as well, so I can see Charlotte's joining. Hey, Christy, how are you? Hey, Jules. I'm going to put this right up here so I can kind of multitask and do this together. It's pretty important for me to have this conversation and to, hey, Jamie, what's up? I can see you. Are you on my personal page? That would be very helpful to know, because if so, then that means this works. Me sharing. Hey, Rockin' One Nana, how is everybody? So I want to take a minute to tell you how we got to today and how we got to this broadcast. Earlier this week, great, thanks, Jamie. So earlier this week, you heard me talk about the Freedom Matters tour. It is a tour that is traveling across the state of Tennessee, especially East Tennessee, and it is financed and put on by a group called Tennessee Stands. And it includes a couple of physicians who Dr. Denise Sibley. It includes her. Hey, Luann. Hey, Addie. How are you guys? And okay, I got a message that I needed to see if it was for today. And they're speaking about COVID-19. They're speaking about a lot of different things, and it tends to be a very political kind of driven environment. But I was specifically concerned about some of the things that Dr. Denise Sibley were saying and Dr. Sean Ochsenbein. And I shared some of that information. I shared a clip of Ochsenbein when he was on OAN and he was on Real America. I spoke out about Ginger Carter, who is an OBGYN who also has privileges and works at Ballad Health Hospitals. Hey, Teresa, honey. And since then, a lot has happened. So you heard me read to you an email yesterday that happened between a citizen who was curious if Alan Levine was aware of these physicians and what they were saying and what they were doing. And I read to you his response, where he pretty much said, listen, I hope that these physicians conduct themselves in a manner that is worthy of their profession. And I believe, because I don't want to get it wrong. He also said that while both of them are competent physicians, perhaps with views very different from ours, the consequence of being associated with such bad misinformation can be deadly for people. That's what Alan Levine had to say yesterday in an email that he did tell this person she was free to share. Well, the person who gave it to me was a she. It made its way around and finally made its way to me. So, I want to be, oh, hey, Sherry. No worries. Okay, so let me say this. Yesterday morning, I became aware that Sean Ochsenbein was, from what I had been told, was no longer going to participate in the Freedom Matters tour. So I sent a message to Sean. And I said, hey, Sean, this is Danny Cook. I cover a lot of issues in the region, specifically around healthcare. I've become aware that you are no longer going to be participating in the Freedom Matters tour. Can you confirm if that is so? And if so, does that also mean that you are no longer going to participate in the Turning Point USA programs and their message to young teens? If you guys aren't aware, there was just a there was just an article in the Washington Post about that, and I'm going to share some of that with you as well. So Sean immediately replied back to me, and let me just be really clear as to what transpired in our conversation. Y'all know me, I'm the queen of receipts, right? So he says, "Hi, Danny," I'm reading. "Correct. I'm not participating with the Freedom Matters tour anymore, and I have never discouraged anyone from the vaccine. I am pro-vaccine and pro-choice, but I encourage my patients and those I'm met to get the vaccine. Unfortunately, my stance has been mischaracterized." That was his response to me. And I said, "Would you be interested in appearing on my live broadcast to help communicate this message to the community?" He responded back and said, "Sure. I'm happy to help get the message out there. Danny, are you in East Tennessee?" And I said, "I'm from Bristol originally and have spent the last 2 years in Kingsport. I have approximately 8,000 followers from that region. I have a broadcast scheduled for tomorrow night around 8 p.m. I'd be happy to clear, 15 minutes or so between 8 and 8:30 to include you." And he said, "I unfortunately work tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. I said, "I can do earlier in the day as a special broadcast if that works for you. What time?" Okay, because I'm all about accommodating, right? He's an emergency room physician. I understand the hours. Let's make them, because I feel like this messaging is important to the community. And he says, "Thanks, Danny. Let me see what time would be best. Maybe 1 or 2, but hold tight in that. I don't want to confirm just yet." I said, "Either one works for me. I'll block off from 1 to 3 p.m. So we'll be good to go with either time." He comes back a little bit later and says, "Great, let's shoot for 1 p.m. My Skype is," and then he gave me his Gmail email address. And I said, "I typically broadcast via StreamYard. You literally just have to click the link that I send. Should I send that to the email address?" He responds and says, "Perfect. That sounds great." I said, "Awesome. Thanks for doing this, and I look forward to speaking at 1 p.m. He likes my remark to him. I say, "Do you have a preferred picture that you would like me to use, or is your profile pic okay?" He then sends me this picture. I say, "Thumbs up, got it." He hearts my little message, right? At last night, I send the banner that I created, right? That says, "Hey, we're going to have this discussion." And I don't hear anything back, which is fine. He saw it, no problem, we're good. So I proceed to go ahead and continue watching footage. So just so that everyone is aware, I have now watched videos of Sean Ochsenbein on OAN, their Real America show. I have watched his video at the Washington County Federation of Republican Women. I have watched his video most recently that took place, I believe, a week or so ago at Higher Ground Baptist Church in Kingsport. So I have watched. He does pretty much the same material at every event, with maybe like a little change in the jokes or delivery, but the same stories appear at every one of these. So what I did not do was take clips from each of those, but I did take some clips that I'm going to share with you guys. Why am I going to share this information with you? Because I'm sure many of you are not going to be shocked by this. At 10:16 a.m. this morning, I got, let me back up. I also went to his Instagram, and I've screenshot a lot of the stuff that he posts on Instagram. And then when I woke up, I noticed that last night he had commented on the live broadcast that I did yesterday evening, in reference to the email, right, that included the verbiage from Alan. And this is what he said last night. This is around probably midnight or so. He says, and y'all know I have the screenshot for it, right? He says, "Looking forward to talking and clearing the air tomorrow with you. I am pro-vaccine physician and always have been. The Washington Post article was a political attack article where I was grossly taken out of context. Delta variant has really changed the game, and I am looking forward to covering it tomorrow live on the broadcast. Cheers, Sean." Now, let's be clear. I don't really care a whole lot about the Washington Post article. I mean, yeah, that's one article, and it seems to be the one that has gotten the most attention from people who weren't aware of the things that he was saying. But I want to be clear that the messaging that Dr. Sean Ochsenbein has been putting out into the community, into the state, and into the national public as a public health messenger has been going on for 9 months or so. He has been doing this since October of last year heavily. October is the first time that I'm aware that he went onto a national TV show to communicate his public health messaging information. So while the Washington Post article might be the most problematic for Sean, it is not the only thing in which I'm judging him by. And let me be clear, I'm not judging him as an individual. I am not judging him as a person or a Republican. I am judging him as a physician who has positioned himself as a public health messenger during a global pandemic, and whose introduction, if you watch, and I will put up links to these, but if you watch the Washington County Republican Women's deal, or if you watch his introduction at Higher Ground Baptist Church, you will see that when they introduce him, they give this long bio about him. And it's about his him graduating from Wake Forest Medical School, and about him, being the student regent for ETSU. And it's all of these accolades about him as a medical professional. And on the Real America sites on OAN, they actually refer to him as an expert. So he is positioning himself as a public health messenger, as an expert surrounding COVID-19. That is problematic for me. And I'm going to share what happened this morning. So this morning at 10:16 a.m., I received a message from Dr. Sean Ochsenbein. And that message said very succinctly, Danny, I am so sorry, but I have to cancel today. Danny, I am so sorry, but I have to cancel today. I responded back 19 minutes later. And I said, hey, Sean, I hate to hear that. I was looking forward to giving you my platform to clarify your messaging to the community. Since you won't be on the broadcast live, I would ask that you answer these 5 questions, and I will communicate your answers verbatim to the public. Now let me just say this. So you guys know when you use Messenger, you can see when people have seen your messages, right? You see that their little profile emblem, their icon comes up, right? So I know that he saw that message within 5 minutes of me sending it to him. Okay. I also know that at 12:14, when I sent him this message, because he didn't reply to the other one, Sean, I would appreciate a response to the questions as you are unable to fulfill your commitment to the community today. You can see his little icon, it's on this side, is right there. He has seen these messages and he has not answered my questions. Would you all like to know what 5 questions I asked this healthcare professional, this physician, this national public messenger to answer for me? Would you like to know that? Put something in the comments. Give me a thumbs up. Give me an amen, a high five, a yes. Let me know if you would like to know what 5 questions I asked of this healthcare professional that he could not answer for you. Jamie says yes. Kia Keeling says absolutely. Christy says yes. Teresa says absolutely. Whitney says yes, definitely. Oh yeah. So here we go. These were my questions. I said, 1, on the Freedom Matters tour and at the Washington County Federation of Republican Women, you spoke alongside and even applauded Dr. Denise Sibley's therapeutic treatment of 1,000 patients with COVID-19. As a physician, do you endorse her regimen for treatment using hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, zithromax, or doxycycline, and steroids? That's the question that I asked him. And here is why I asked that question. Let me see if this is the right video.
Shaking her head. Yes, Denise has treated over 1,000 patients in the community with COVID. Let's give her a round of applause.
I'm asking him this question because he stood up at this event and applauded her for her therapeutic treatment of 1,000 people with COVID-19. As a physician who is in the national spotlight, who has put himself out there as an expert regarding COVID, and if you go to Denise's website, you'll see a YouTube video that she says all three treatments for COVID. And that is what she describes. I listened to her email this morning. And the question that I wanted to know, as a man and a physician who claims to listen to the science, do you support and endorse her therapeutic treatments of COVID-19? He did not answer that question. Now, I will tell you who did provide some answer about that, not to me, but in an interview that was just done. Hold on, let me pull this up for you. It is, let me find the screen that I'm on. There we go. So, WKRN, I will give you guys the link. Let me give this to you. As soon as all I did was put in Ivermectin, Ivermectin, and immediately this article came up from yesterday. I swear I can't make this up. Yesterday at 10:16 p.m. and updated this morning, there is an article in which the professor of infectious diseases at Vanderbilt is talking about not using this medication to treat COVID. Okay, so let me give you all this link so that you have it for yourself. Now, let me ask this. Would you like to know what the professor of infectious disease at Vanderbilt Hospital and Vanderbilt University had to say about using this medication that Dr. Sean Ochsenbein just applauded? Here's what he said. He said, the studies unfortunately show that this drug, as with some other drugs that have been tried, simply doesn't work. This is Dr. William Schaffner. And he goes on to say, some people have been getting, because people are taking unorthodox measures to obtain this medicine. And he says some people have been getting doses from veterinarians, if you can believe it, or in this case, Dr. Denise Shibley. And of course, the veterinary formulations aren't set up for human use, right? Some of the side effects relate to intestinal disturbance, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, but others are a bit more serious. You can lose your sense of balance, which is not very good. And on occasion, it actually precipitated seizures and coma, and there have been some people who have died. Folks, that is not Danny Cook talking. That is Dr. William Schaffner, who's the professor of infectious disease at Vanderbilt University. So here's what I just like, if I use my common sense, do I listen to a regional, local, internal medicine physician, or do I listen to the professor of infectious disease at Vanderbilt University? Who do I believe is going to have access to the most data? Who do I believe is going to have the most experience, the most knowledge, the most education regarding the use of this judge? Dr. Sean Ochsenbein would not tell me, although he stood in front of an audience and applauded her for her treatments, if he condoned and supported and endorsed her treatment. Would you like to know the second question he wouldn't answer for me? Number 2, I asked Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, your speaking engagements refer a lot to, quote unquote, the left, Turning Point USA, the Constitution, and similar subjects. Do you have political aspirations yourself? And do you feel that your claimed pro-vaccination stance has been lost in the right-wing political rhetoric? To me, that's a valid question. Because as a healthcare professional, it is very important, right, to make sure that your message is clear and to make sure that any potentially hidden agenda you might have, any potential conflict of interest you might have, doesn't affect the information that you are giving to the public. Okay? He didn't answer that question. So I'm going to let you all hear a little bit of why I asked this question, okay?
Cyclically, we throw them away.
Wait, that's for something else. Give me a second. I'm going to come back to that, Joker. Somebody remind me to come back to the video about masks. Somebody remind me to do that.
Die to keep their firearms in their house. Okay? Well, every one of y'all are white supremacists and radicals. Yes. What happened with COVID is we weren't even allowed to ask questions. We weren't even allowed to say, well, does the data prove that?
So he
Do y'all
asked,
know when the 6-foot rule research?
So what he asked was, how many of you guys would die for your Bibles? How many of you all would die to keep firearms in your house? And when they said yes, he said they were white supremacists and extremists. He said the same thing at Higher Ground Baptist Church, which to me is right-wing rhetoric that has no place as a medical professional if you're supposed to be there to tout medical evidence, right? I'm going to keep going. Remove from stream. Here we go.
Right. Some people believe, though, that freedom is more important than someone's life. And the freedom to open your business and to move freely across our country, well, that's something to die for. But you could not ask those questions and you could not talk like that.
I want you to hear what this physician just said. I want you to hear what this physician just said. I'm going to play this for you again. He literally said, some people think freedom is worth dying for. And then he says, there are some people that believe that freedom is more important than someone's life. And that freedom to open your business and move around. Listen, folks.
There's always something to be said about being cautious and trying to save the life of your neighbor, right? Some people believe, though, that freedom is more important than someone's life. And the freedom to open your business and to move freely across our country, well, that's something to die for. But you could not ask those questions and you could not talk like that.
So I want to be clear that this healthcare professional just said that freedom is more important than someone's life, and that the freedom to open your business and the freedom to move around and to move around freely, well, now that's something to die for. I'm going to let you hear one more.
Was founded on ideas, right? It wasn't a monarchy. We weren't founded because of a ruler. We were founded on the idea that if you work hard, then you can become something. We were founded on ideas like freedom, equality, being able to talk your mind to whatever you wanted to or whoever you wanted to. This is what our country was founded on. If we pull back these principles again, we will beat the woke capitalist, we will beat the left, and by God, we will save America for the next generation. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, my question is, does he sound like a physician who has come to tell you and educate you about COVID-19, about the proper way to wear a mask, about, social distancing? Does he sound like a physician who has come to share with you what he witnessed on the front lines? Or does he sound like a politician? Yeah, Christy. So I will tell you this. If you go to YouTube and you put his name in, you will watch videos of Dr. Sean Ochsenbein. You will watch him, and from October of 2020, which was his first appearance on OAN that I could find, and you watch it all the way through July of this year. And what you will see is a very large shift in his messaging. You will see it become more politically driven. You will see it become more politically divisive, as if he is catering to a particular group of naysayers, and the information that he is banging on, right? Those dog whistle words that he's using are your First Amendment rights and your religion. Now, some of you might say, well, political speech is protected. You are correct. You are correct. Political speech is protected, right? However, when you are a physician, there's a couple of things that don't quite make you in the safe zone. And I'm going to talk about those in just a second. But before I do that, I want to point out one of the pieces, just one of several pieces of medical information that I found him to use that wasn't quite accurate. Okay. So this is the mask video that I told you, remind me to come back to. Okay. So give me 1 second.
Pretty much eat them. Now, as a physician, I know masks do work in certain situations. I wear them all the time in the emergency department. But I also don't touch the fabric of the mask. I take it down by the loop of the ear, and we use them cyclically. We throw them away. We don't keep them in our pocket, pretty much eat them the entire day, right? So as a physician, here was the problem, is that people were actually getting fined for not wearing a mask that they were not told how to wear, and they were not told the percentage of actually how it worked because we didn't know. So why was freedom not the default? That's my question. Why was it that oppression, closing your business, forcing people to wear a mask, why was that the default and not freedom?
So I want to be clear that this physician, this healthcare provider, is equating being asked to wear a mask with oppression and a restriction of your freedom. So let me just tell you something, folks. That for me is the epitome of privilege, because if you think being asked to wear a mask is oppression and a loss of your freedom, you have no flipping idea what that really is. Let me just be very clear about that. But I want to just show Dr. Ochsenbein why he's incorrect, and I'm going to give you the link for it. If you go to the CDC's website, you will see information on face coverings. And let me give you the link to this so that you have it. Yeah, Teresa, this is a great point. Teresa Allgood says, and how do we feel about speaking on political issues from the stage at a church, specifically Higher Ground Baptist Church in Kingsport? Right, because churches that are not, they are nonprofits, and there are certain restrictions around endorsing candidates and different things like that. But we'll get there. All right. So let me just, I gave you the link. So let me just tell you, he said that that they weren't told how to wear a mask. Well, let me just tell you, it very clearly says your guide to masks, right? And it says, if you are not fully vaccinated and age 2 or older, you should wear a mask in indoor public spaces. You do not need to wear a mask in general in outdoor settings, right? However, you know, it says if you're going to be in close contact with others, you know, then do that. But it does say how to select. Do choose masks that have 2 or more layers of washable, breathable fabric. Do choose masks that completely cover your nose and your mouth. Do choose masks that fit snugly against the sides of your face and don't have gaps. Do choose masks that have a nose wire to prevent air from leaking out of the top. Do not choose masks that are made of fabric that makes it hard to breathe, for example, vinyl. Do not choose masks that have exhalation valves or vents which allow virus particles to escape. Do not choose masks that are prioritized for healthcare workers, including N95 respirators. Special consideration, gaiters. You will hear Dr. Sean Ochsenbein talk about gaiters, and that there's this one study that actually shows that if you cough when you're wearing a gaiter, that's the one that goes around your neck and up over your nose and mouth, that it actually spreads the virus more. Well, let me tell you what the CDC says. Wear a gaiter with 2 layers or fold it to make 2 layers so that you do not spread it, right? And it goes on and on and on, and I'm not going to read this whole page to you, but what angers me about this physician, this medical professional who has put himself up on this national platform as a public health messenger, is giving wrong information. And let me just say this, if you really are concerned about the health and well-being of the public, and you feel as if they haven't been told how to properly wear a mask, Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, you're now speaking in front of hundreds upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, right? So why not take this opportunity to use those platforms to say, hey guys, if you don't know, here's how you should wear a mask. Because the CDC site even says, don't touch the fabric of the mask when you're wearing it. It says that. Now, out of habit, are people going to do that in the beginning? Of course they are, because we're not medical professionals that are used to wearing them all day, but it's better than nothing. And that's the part that really irritates me. He is pointing out things that happened in the very beginning of COVID when there's very little data to go on, when we weren't even sure what we were dealing with, and we were simply doing the best we can. So were we supposed to social distance 3 feet or 6 feet? Well, who the hell knows? But since we know this thing is killing people, let's just tell them 6 feet, because that's what historically science has proven to be true. And then when we get more data, we can make adjustments. Because that's what you do. You take the best action that you can based on the knowledge that you have at that time, and then you update it and you change it as more data becomes available. And what I do not understand as a health professional is, if you have all these opportunities to do these speaking engagements, why are you not giving the best practical medical advice that you can possibly give? Why aren't you volunteering in your community to help at the vaccination places? Why aren't you helping to educate people right there in the local community about the vaccine if you got it yourself and you're so pro-vaccine? Or maybe that doesn't get you 40,000 followers on Instagram and an appearance with Charlie Kirk on Turning Point USA. Maybe that doesn't get you a national television spot. Meanwhile, your peers and your colleagues are dealing with very sick, dying patients, and you're enjoying the limelight. Got it. So let me continue. Here is why this may be problematic for Dr. Sean Ochsenbein and for Dr. Ginger Carter and for Dr. Denise Sibley. Well, let me back up. Before I go right down that alley, let me say this last thing, a few things. So at the end of his speech at Higher Ground Baptist Church, he tells the church to rest assured. He is going to make sure that their young people follow Charlie Kirk, and their young people follow Turning Point USA, and the young people follow Ben Shapiro, and the young people follow this is what he says to them. Okay. Now, I want to tell you, I went to see what those people talk about, because I don't follow Turning Point USA. I don't follow Charlie Kirk, and I don't follow mainstream media enough to know what they say these people say. So instead, I went directly to their Twitter to find out for myself. Would you like to know? The people that Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, who has privileges and works with Ballot Health as a contracted ER physician, would you like to know what these people had to say? Let me tell you what these people had to say, because I almost lost my mind. Give me a second. Y'all know I have a lot of stuff pulled up to share with you all. Here we go. Here they are. So, whoops, let me move that one. Bear with me, folks. I pulled quite a few for you today. So, dang, how many did I pull? Shit. Sorry, y'all. I'm like, dang. Oh, here's one for you. Here's one for you. Charlie Kirk, who runs Turning Point USA, said on August the 3rd at 10:12 a.m., breaking, New York City will require proof of vaccination for indoor dining and gyms. Democrats are creating a new segregated class of Americans. This is medical apartheid. How is this legal? I want you to be clear and understand that Charlie Kirk just equated being asked to show proof of vaccination for indoor dining and gyms, as if you don't have a kitchen and can't work out at home, to apartheid. Does anybody know what apartheid is? If you don't, I will give you the damn definition. And I like to give you the real, like not just my summary of it. Apartheid was a system of institutionalized racial segregation that existed in South Africa and Southwest Africa based on race. What is it? What is it with these right-wing white men that keep wanting to equate what's happening with COVID-19 and you being asked to do your personal responsibility for public health to oppression and slavery and apartheid, things you know nothing about? That angers me. This physician also said, and I'm talking directly about Sean Ochsenbein, on October 7th, 2020, at 3:43 p.m., Dr. Sean Ochsenbein tweeted, quote, "Cigarettes kill about 500,000 annually in the United States. COVID has taken the lives of about 200,000. Perspective is important. Let people make their own choices and take responsibility of their decisions. Freedom to work and travel equals freedom of speech in my book," end quote. Let me be clear, Dr. Ochsenbein, in case you're not aware, there's no smoking on the Johnson City Medical Center campus. There's no smoking on any Ballad Health campus. There's no smoking in public places. There's no smoking on public transportation. There's no smoking. Do you get the difference? One, like when it becomes a public health issue, then we do make restrictions, which they did on smoking. Am I crazy, or is anybody following what I'm saying? Dr. Sean Ochsenbein said he would make sure everyone, their young people, follows Charlie Kirk. Well, let me tell you what Charlie Kirk said on October 4th, just yesterday at 5:35 p.m. He said Joe Biden, Secretary of Defense, is expected to authorize mandatory vaccinations for all active duty troops this week. I wonder how many recruits signed up to serve so that their government could force experimental medicine on healthy civilians. That is what Sean Ochsenbein just endorsed, that this vaccine is experimental medicine. And there's so many more. I'm not going to read all of them to you. Here's one more. Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, said on August 2nd, 2021 at 7:39 p.m. on Twitter, 1,638 people die of cancer every day. On average, 474 Americans die every day from, quote, accidents and unintentional injuries, end quote. The 7-day average for COVID deaths is 362, according to the New York Times. It's hilarious to me that he's quoting the New York Times. And then he says 63 people died from COVID yesterday. They want to lock down America over this, question mark? Do not comply. That's what he said. Do not comply. Dr. Ochsenbein, you just said that you would make sure our children follow Charlie Kirk, and he is saying do not comply. Now, let me tell you how and why this becomes problematic, okay, for these physicians. In the Washington Post article, which is the one that he's the most concerned about, this is what he said. And when I say he, I mean Dr. Ochsenbein. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it back up. Here it is. So this article came out just the other day. And so Turning Point USA specifically targets college-age students. There are chapters in all kinds of universities across the country. And this is what this article starts off by saying. So they're having this rally, this Turning Point USA event. And Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, who has been called their new breakout speaker, it's on his Instagram. He's the wilderness doctor, by the way. It says, let me scroll back up to the top. This is where I really think that people need to pay attention. So listen to this. I'm reading the article. A young emergency room doctor, that would be Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, stood before dozens of students in a Tampa convention center this month and gave them a script for resisting coronavirus vaccines. Quote, and this is a quote from Dr. Sean Ochsenbein. He said, "You say I'm 18 years old, I have no health conditions. Based on the 5-year mortality data, I have a highly likelihood of dying from flu versus COVID, and I don't get the flu vaccine, so I'm not going to get this one. Drop the mic, you're done, that's it." End quote. So this is what Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, speaking with Turning Point USA, stood up and told a group of dozens of students in a Tampa convention center. Now, why is that problematic for this physician? This physician, without knowing the medical history of these students, without knowing anything about their medications, their risk factors, or anything else, they were not his patients, just gave them medical advice on how to refuse the vaccination. He just, as a physician, stood in a convention center and gave medical advice to a group of people that were not his patients and told them what to say. Physicians aren't allowed to do that, folks. You're not allowed to do that. You can get in trouble for that. Like, you can actually have your license suspended or revoked or be reprimanded for giving medical instructions and medical advice to people who are not your patients. It was a blanket statement. He had no idea what those kids had going on with their bodies and with their health conditions. And he stood up there and that's what he told them. And listen, he told them this is what to say. Quote, "You say I'm 18 years old. I have no health conditions. Based on the 5-year mortality data, I have a highly likelihood of dying from flu versus COVID, and I don't get the flu vaccine, so I'm not going to get this one. Drop the mic. You're done. That's it." Let me tell you what the regulations of the Tennessee Board of Medical Examiners has to say about physician conduct. They have a code of ethics. Okay, would you like to know what the Tennessee Board of Medical Examiners has to say in their regulations about physicians and their code of ethics? I'm going to tell you what it says, what they say. In Section 8, Code of Ethics, the board adopts, as is fully set out herein, and to the extent that it does not conflict with the state law, rules or board position statements, as is Code of Medical Ethics, the Code of Medical Ethics published by the AMA, Council on Ethical and Judicial Affairs, as it may from time to time be amended. A, in the case of a conflict, the state law, rules, or position statement shall govern. Violation of the board's code of ethics shall be grounds for disciplinary action pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 63-6-214B1. Okay? So listen. Would you like to know what the AMA says about physicians in non-clinical roles? Because technically, when he is doing these speaking engagements, when Dr. Denise Sibley is having these speaking engagements, when Dr. Ginger Carter is sitting on the Board of Education, those are non-clinical roles that these physicians are in. Well, guess what? There's a specific section of the AMA Code of Ethics on physicians in non-clinical roles. Would you like to know what it says, folks? Here's what it says. Quote, The ethical obligations of physicians are not suspended when a physician assumes a position that does not directly involve patient care. Rather, these obligations are binding on physicians in non-clinical roles to the extent that they rely on their medical training, experience, or perspective. When physicians make decisions in non-clinical roles, they should strive to protect the health of individuals and communities. So here's my question, Dr. Sean Ochsenbein. When you are giving your speeches and you are telling students and giving them a script on how to refuse the coronavirus vaccine, are you making decisions based on your medical training, experience, and perspective? Are you relying on that when you give them that? And since you are in these non-clinical roles, are you striving to protect the health of individuals and the communities? Dr. Ginger Carter, when you sat on the Board of Education for Johnson City, Tennessee schools this week, and you said to them that there were all of these studies that prove that masks don't work, and when you told them Pfizer funds the AAP, and when you made it this political gamut, and you're a physician, you are an OBGYN, were you in fact, ma'am, striving to protect the health of your students and the individuals of this community? Were you? What do you all think? Do you believe that when these physicians are speaking these things, are they striving to protect the health of individuals and the community? What do you think? Because I know what I think. Now, let me tell you where Dr. Ginger Carter might also be getting herself in trouble. Jamie says they're striving to convince people that freedom is more important than lives. Well, let me tell you, that's exactly what Dr. Sean Ochsenbein said in his meeting. Right? So, Dr. Ginger Carter, not only are you a physician in a non-clinical role, right, where your medical experience, right, should be helping you make decisions regarding schools and masks, right? You are also a faculty of East Tennessee State University. Okay? Well, let me tell you what the ETSU Faculty Handbook on Public Statements Made by Faculty says. You want to know that? Because I surely do. ETSU Faculty Handbook on Public Statements by Faculty. She is faculty, right? Michelle Ivy says, I think it's embarrassing that these physicians are disregarding evidence-based medicine in favor of political posturing. I could not agree more with you, ma'am. I could not agree more with you. Here's what the ETSU Faculty Handbook says. Quote, when the faculty member speaks or writes as a citizen, he/she should be free from university/college censorship or discipline, but his/her special position in the community imposes special obligations. As a man or woman of learning and an educational officer, he/she should remember that the public may judge the profession and the university/college by the faculty member's utterances. Hence, as a faculty member should at all times be accurate, should exercise appropriate restraint, should show respect for the opinions of others, and should make every effort to indicate that he/she does not speak for the university or the college. East Tennessee State University, Dr. Ginger Carter made no such statement. She made no such statement, and she was introduced as Dr. Carter. She made no such statement. She, in fact, said those things. And you're right. We look to you. Between East Tennessee State University and their corporation, MEAC, that has doctors, around 100 or so, right? Maybe a little more than that. And Ballot Health, between those two, they are more than 2/3 of the physicians in the region. East Tennessee State University turns out the majority of the medical students in the region, right? These two have relationships. They have memorandums of understandings about the millions of dollars of business they're going to do with each other. You all are in a unique position to do something about the rhetoric that is coming from your professors and your physicians. And it is in the best interest of the public to do that. You cannot open the Johnson City Press today and on the front page see the word catastrophic and then be like, oh, they're just saying stuff. People are listening. I know a physician who had a patient who refused a vaccine because of things that Dr. Sean Ochsenbein said. Nope, I don't want to get one. I follow this doctor, and he says no. Last thing, and then we're out of here for right now because I have life to do. And good Lord, I have so many pages here for you guys for tonight and today. Where did I put it? Maybe I forgot it. But it was the Federal Medical Board. You guys know what I'm talking about? Where did I put it? I don't know where I put it. Hold on. Well, hell, y'all. I really don't know. It's okay. I'll read it tonight. How about that? So let me leave you guys with this. If you believe that the things that these physicians are saying violate the code of ethics, if you believe that when Dr. Sean Ochsenbein told a group of teens who were not his patients that they needed to use this script for them to say to refuse the coronavirus vaccine, if you believe that he was giving medical advice to people who were not his patients without knowing their medical history, if you believe that they are not upholding the AMA's code of ethics, right? If you believe that and you feel so strongly about it, you have the ability to go to the Tennessee Department of Health's website, to the licensure department, and file a complaint. I have given the link to this site many, many times over the last couple of years. I will give it to you one more time so that you can do what you feel is in your best interest and the interest of the community. I will tell you what my position is. I was really hoping that Sean was going to keep his word and come on the show today. I have to be very honest and say that when he said yes, I was like, oh shit, really? Because I thought, he must not know who I am. He must not have watched my lives. Like, he must not. And then last night I saw him click to follow me. And then when I woke up this morning, I saw his comment and I was like, well, even after watching that live, he's still going to come on. Yay. Now, I don't know what happened that made him change his mind. I don't suspect that I will ever know. I could speculate, but why bother and waste my energy, right? All I know is not only did he say no when presented with an opportunity to tell you guys what his real stance is, he refused to answer the 5 questions that I asked him to, that I really do feel like his community deserves an answer for. I believe that his colleagues deserve an answer. I believe that, the patients, the 2 children that are on ventilators, the people that are high risk in the community deserves answers from this physician who exalted himself to this national platform as a public health messenger. And I wish that he had provided that for you. It seems as though I am quite frequently disappointed when it comes to healthcare in that region. I should have seen it coming. I know that when I had a meeting scheduled with Ballot Health back in December of 2018, they canceled too. If you guys remember that, we were supposed to meet, I believe, on like the 13th or something. And the Saturday before, Tony Keck sent me an email and canceled. So I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed. But I decided to do this live anyway, because I believe that you all deserve to know what's being said I believe that you deserve to hear for yourselves the things that he has said. By the way, all of the video clips that I have watched and the ones that I shared with you today are available publicly online. You can go to the Washington County Federation of Republican Women's website, and there's a link. They actually say, hey, if you missed our meeting this month, click this Google Drive link and you can watch it. Matter of fact, how about this? Because I always like to be helpful. Here's the link to the video. If you want to watch the entire video from the clips that I gave you today, there it is. If you would like to watch what he said at Higher Ground Baptist Church, let me give you that one as well. I've got no problem. I was angry when I watched these things, the same way I was angry when I listened to Dr. Ginger Carter, because I believe that it's irresponsible as physicians to be saying these things. I believe that it's irresponsible to put your own popularity and political posturing and potentially, potential political aspirations above the health and well-being of the people. I feel the same way about Dr. Lisa Piercy. Lisa Piercy telling, reporters at the Tennessean that she has political aspirations and she hopes to either run for Senate or state rep or whatever, to me, and then firing Michelle Fiskus, Dr. Michelle Fiskus, and halting all outreach for any vaccinations for our children. No, ma'am, and you're a pediatrician. You do not deserve to practice medicine, and you do not deserve to be the commissioner of health for the Tennessee Department of Health. You do not deserve it. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. My heart breaks for the parents whose children are on ventilators. My heart breaks. I have seen it firsthand. I have seen it when Bella could fit in my hand. When Bella was born, when we were there, one of the NICU nurses, Heather, I was in there with her, and she had like a big pen, right? And she took the pen and she put it in the incubator, like far enough away from Bella. And she put it beside her, and I took a picture. And this was the size of my grandbaby when she was at Holston Valley Medical Center. I remember watching her heartbeat through her skin. I remember the beeps and the blares of the machines when her oxygen level would drop or her heart rate would be something that it shouldn't be. I remember. And the thought that parents may have to experience 1/10 of that breaks my heart. The fact that there are staff who know they don't have all the support that they need and all of the resources and all of the personnel that they need to do exceptional jobs saddens me. And that's the reason for this. There are other things I could be doing with my time. There are other things that some days I would rather be doing, but I believe that these things are important. And I stand behind the things that I said today. Does anybody have any questions for me? I don't know that I will be able to answer them, but do you have any questions for me before I go? Yeah. Was this beneficial? Does this help you understand kind of what's happening? Yeah, Christy, I'm going to tell you, I'm leaving tomorrow to go be with my family because Bella's birthday party is Saturday. She's going to turn 4. And there is not a day that goes by that I don't think about Dr. Powers and Dr. Tanvir and Suzanne and Heather and there's a whole slew of you guys, Renda and Shannon. And if I start to name names, I just end up forgetting people, but there's so many of them. And I am extremely grateful, So, have you found out if Ballard is going to do anything about them at all? Well, now here's what's interesting is Ballard does not directly employ Dr. Denise Sibley at all. They do employ her husband. Her husband is Dr. David Sibley. He's a pathologist, and not to my knowledge. So far as Dr. Sean Ochsenbein, he is employed by, what is it? Is it Tri-City Emergency Physicians? Give me just a second, because I do not want to tell you a lie. He is Tri-Cities Regional Emergency Physicians, and he's at Franklin Woods Hospital. So I'm not sure exactly how that relationship works. I do know that his direct employer would be them and not Ballard. Could Ballard choose to revoke his privileges? Sure, they could. Will they? I do not know. And, Ballard is not very likely to tell me, although I wish they would, Like, I'm at this point where I'm no longer outside of your hospital, and I would love to help, I would love to help, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. So, thanks, Sherry. Happy birthday to you too. Happy birthday to you. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got a few hours to get some stuff done, but let me tell you about tonight. Okay. Cause some of you guys that are on here have been with me for a really long time, and you know that I'm a certified life coach. You know that a big part of my heart is around, like, how do we live life and be whole and be okay, and how do we make the best out of like where we are and what we are, and how do we have compassion, and how do we get connected? And so tonight, I'm going to have some of this kind of stuff at the very beginning of the live. And then I'm going to have a guest come on for the second half of the live tonight. His name is Dr. Walter Sims. He is a minister. He's also a certified life coach. He and I have had several conversations. And tonight I want to bring you something different, that instead of talking about the problems that we're all encountering and the crazy stuff that people in positions of power and authority are doing, I would rather talk to you all and see if we can't help each other cope with what's going on, help each other live a little better, and feel better and breathe better, all those types of things. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Okay. Michelle Ivy says Ginger Carter promoting conspiracy theories, citing America's frontline doctors and anecdotal evidence, and skewing the numerous studies and data available about the safety and efficacy of masks is unacceptable. We need to keep pursuing mask mandates in schools. I'm glad to know more about Denise Sibley and her use of, yep, you got them. Those are the medications that needs to be addressed when she goes before the board again next month. Michelle Ivy, you are one of my favorite people at this moment. Yes, ma'am. So, there's a lot out there. If anybody needs links to videos or whatever, maybe what I'll do is I'll put them on a sheet of paper. I'll put them like in one document, and I'll post them on the page so that you guys can click them and read them for yourselves. I want you to be clear that my goal is to help break through the misinformation and to help people understand how to be safe. I am working diligently not to come from a place of fear when it comes to COVID. The Delta variant does make me go when it comes to Bella. I don't know what we would do. I don't know what I would do, And there's no public platform and popularity or posturing that is worth the life of someone else. It's just not. If I need to wear a mask, even though I'm fully vaccinated, guess what? I will wear a mask. If I need to carry hand sanitizer again and wipes in my car, and when I go work out, wipe down the stuff before I use it and wipe it down when I'm done, then that's what we do, because we are literally all connected to each other. We all rely on each other to make this world go round. And personal choice also requires personal responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to each other, right? So if we truly are our brother and sister's keeper, right, then the choices I make should take you into account. You know? Agreed. It's a small price to pay to keep ourselves and others safe. Teresa, he is great. He's got a bubbly personality, so I'm excited to talk about that. So I appreciate you guys very much. Love you, mean it. Please be safe. Please research the vaccines. I will put up some more links. I have links about the FDA and what the emergency use approval process looks like. And it doesn't mean that there's no investigation or studies or requirements. It doesn't mean that they just go, oh, yeah, sure, try that thing. No, that's not what it means. And so I encourage you all to do a little bit of research, look some things up, read, and for goodness sake, use your common sense, not fear, not political posturing, not any of that, just common sense, right? I personally, over an emergency room doctor and over an internal medicine doctor, will listen to an infectious disease specialist about a global pandemic and a virus every single time, because I just think they're probably going to know better, you know? All right, you guys, be amazing, be light, be love. Peace.